Hey followers, this is Doug Kenney of Movie Maker Doug 55. To start out this interview with Harold Hawley, I want to say thanks to God for letting me do these interviews. They mean a lot to me to do them, and it's pretty cool that I get to do them, and I wouldn't be able to do it without God. No other way to put it. So, today I'm interviewing Harold Hawley, the crew chief for Jeff Greene. Let's see how this works out. Okay.
Hello.
Hey Harold, this is Doug again.
Hey, Doug.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Are you ready to do this interview?
Sure.
Alrighty, cool. So I have a list of questions about your racing career, and hopefully you have the answer for them. And they're based on some research I've done of your statistics as a crew chief.
Okay.
So yeah, where are you originally from?
Pell City, Alabama.
Nice. What's it like living there?
It's good. Small town. I mean, it's bigger now. I moved out of there in end of 1987.
Oh, pretty cool. I'm originally from Estes Park, Colorado.
Got you. I love that state.
Yeah, I love it too. So yeah, what made you get into motor racing?
My dad was a huge race fan back in the day, and I went over to the Talladega Super Speedway with him, and that's where I started following it. And I remember watching them guys on pit road. They'd come over for the pit stops. I watched those guys change tires and stuff. I told Dad I wanted to do that. From there, whenever I was a kid, I started working on my Little League football coach's dirt car. And that's how I got involved in the dirt series. But from there, I graduated up, met people at the racetrack. Mickey Gibbs was my first paying job in the state of Alabama. He started a Winston Cup and an ARCA team. And that was my first paying job. And then I went to work for him about a year, and he ended up getting a ride out of a company out of Ohio. And then some people that I had worked with and met, I ended up getting a job offer from Alan Kowicki in Charlotte. That's how I moved to North Carolina.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And Alan Kowicki's a legend. That's pretty cool. So who is your biggest racing hero?
My biggest racing hero, Cale Yarborough.
Cale Yarborough. A classic. I like him.
Yeah.
When did I think you already covered that one already, so I'll move to the next one. How did you get your ride with Chad Little's team?
I had worked with the crew chief there. His name was Fred Wanky. I had worked with him in the past, and they needed a fabricator and a tire changer, and I went over there and applied for the job, and I ended up getting it. And Greg Pollock's on that team. Mark Rippon, the football player, Mark Rippon, called Mark Rippon Motorsports. This was the primary team owner, and so I worked for them from 1992 till 2000. 1992.
2002, maybe?
Yeah. Well, I worked with Greg. He actually sold his cup team to Jack Roush in 97 with the John Deere deal. And I stayed with Jack Roush through the end of 97. And then I went to work for another company for Joe Bessie in 1998 for a small amount of time. And Greg started another race team, and I went back to work for him. So really, I worked for him up until 2002.
That's pretty cool, man. And what was your reaction to qualifying the 97 car 6th with Little at Charlotte?
What was it now?
What was your reaction to qualifying the qualifying 6 with Chad Little at Charlotte in your rookie season?
Well, I'm trying to rewind my mind back that far. That in the Busch Series or the Cup Series, we ran the Sterling Cowboy car.
I think it might have been the Busch Series, I believe.
Well, I mean, at the time it was pretty high because we had just switched to what year was this? 90 what?
I think it was 97 or 96 or something like that.
96 was the Busch Series. 97 was Cup.
Alrighty, then it was 96.
Yeah, 96. It was pretty positive at the time because that was that new Pontiac.
Ooh.
And that was that new Pontiac. And at that car, at the time, we had come out, we come from racing the Ford Thunderbirds. And the Ford Thunderbird, down the arrow on that car was so much different. And when we went into the Pontiac, we were wind tunneling cars and everything at the time, but the understanding of what we were working with was, it was new and kind of vague. So it took us a little while to get a handle on it, but basically, make a long story short, the Pontiac was so much more rear-loaded downforce wise over what the Ford Thunderbird was. Once that we figured that out with the Pontiac, that's when we got rolling. But when we first started that year, we had a tough time with it because the car was so much different aerodynamically that our setups was all Ford generated from the year before, and it took us a little while to get a handle on it. But once we got a handle on it, I don't think we finished out of the top 10 the rest of the year.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
It took quite a bit different setups to accommodate that thing, just because the arrow is so much different. But that being said, what I learned from that transition from the Ford to the Pontiac, when I was racing with Jeff Greene later on in the years, we went from the 99 Monte Carlo to the 2000 Monte Carlo. It was like deja vu, and it came right back around. So a lot of people were having a tough time with the 2000 Monte Carlo, and I'd been there, done that. And that was a year that we just whooped them.
That's awesome, man. And how'd you get your ride with Jeff Greene?
That was also Greg Bollock's team. And how Jeff Greene and I had hooked up, Chad Little had gotten hurt in 95 at Charlotte.
Mm.
Greg Sachs wrecked him and it broke his arm. And he was able to start and park a couple times. He was able to start, but he had to pit under the first pit. He had to get out under the first pit stop. And Jeff Greene was somebody that I had talked to, but never really worked with. I had a lot of respect for him, and I talked to Chad about putting him in the car. And we went to Myrtle Beach, and Chad started the race. Drove to the first pit stop, which is only about 20 laps in, maybe 30 laps in, and we hit it, and we lost a lap. We lost a lap, changing drivers. So we changed drivers and put Jeff Greene in the car, and he unlapped himself and drove all the way back to fourth. It was about, if that race would have been 20 laps longer, he would have won that thing.
Ooh.
And so Jeff and I built a relationship right there. And then in 98, I was working for Greg. Jason Killer was driving his car. At that time, it was called PPC. And he wanted to start a second team. So when he wanted to start our second team, originally they had Tim Fiedler slated to drive the car. But there was a conflict of interest with the sponsor. And so we had to find somebody else. And as soon as they asked me about it, I knew exactly who I wanted. And it was Jeff Greene. And so I went to try to find him, and he had just got out of his ride with Felix Sabatas. And actually, I tracked him down in Kentucky. He was in a tree stand deer hunting. And I tracked him down deer hunting, and that's how we got hooked up.
Nice. And so working with Jeff Greene was pretty cool. You enjoyed it?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, we had a pretty good run.
Yeah, that's
3 years that we worked together. We finished second in the Busch Series points in '99, and we was a new team, so we didn't have any points from the previous year. So we finished second at Daytona right off the bat. And we went to Rockingham, and it rained out qualifying.
Ooh.
We were fourth quick in practice, and it rained out qualifying. When it rained out qualifying, we didn't have any points from the previous year, so we missed that race. So we couldn't start, but we ended up finishing second. That was the only reason why we lost the championship to Dale Jr. that year. We finished second that year in the '99 Monte Carlo. And then we went to the 2000 Monte Carlo, which had the same aerodynamic characteristics as the Pontiac did. And the '99 Monte Carlo had the same aerodynamic characteristics as the Ford did. So, again, when that thing came full circle for me, I knew exactly what to do. We jumped on it, and we won a championship in 2000 by the biggest points margin. I think it's still a record, biggest points margin ever in NASCAR.
Whoa, that's really cool. So, what was your reaction to winning the championship with Greene?
Well, we won the championship. We locked the championship up in Memphis. There were still 4 races to go, and we locked the championship up. And I remember riding around in the back of the truck at Memphis. They put us in the back of the truck, and they were riding us around the racetrack because we'd locked in the points championship. I was just kind of staring around there, and Greene was staring at me, and he goes, "Hey, why you got such a long face, man?" He said, "We're champions." I said, "Huh?" I said, "It ain't even over yet." He's like, "I know. But we're the champions." So, as we was riding around in that truck, I was trying to process the whole thing about what had gone on. I couldn't believe it. And then all of a sudden, our public relations girl started telling us, "Hey, y'all are one top 5 away from securing the most top 5s ever. Y'all are 1 pole away from securing the most poles ever." So it was like they threw a whole new set of goals on us while we was riding around in the back of that truck. We went after them, and we ended up winning them. We ended up breaking those records before the end of the year as well. But it took a lot. I still, it probably took 6 weeks for it to set in that we'd actually won the championship.
So you clinched it with 6 races to go?
4, I think. 4 races.
4.
It might have been 6. I thought it was 4.
I might need to look into that. But there was a similar year in 2006 where Kevin Harvick had such a good season, that Busch season, that he locked up the championship with like several races to go. I think it was at the Charlotte race in autumn. That was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, yep. They were really dominant.
Yeah, they were. No other way to put it. And didn't Jeff have a rivalry with Kevin Harvick in the Busch series?
Oh yeah.
What was that like for the team?
Well, we were pretty intense. Like we were like wolves at each other for the most part. But it kept us going. It was awesome, really. I mean, you wouldn't have ever thought we really respected each other because we were such enemies at the time. But they respected us and we respected them. And man, it was a heck of a fight. It was a lot of fun coming back. We'd show up with something trick one week, and then they'd have something trick the next week. I mean, it was an evolution of things back between their team and our team. We made NASCAR write a bunch of rules that year.
That's very interesting. And if my memory's right, Jeff Greene briefly drove for RCR as a teammate of Harvick, although it didn't work out from what I've read. Yeah. What was the reason you stopped working with Greene after 2001 for a period of time?
He left and went to RCR, and I could have went. They offered me the job, but I had been with Greg Pollock so long that I just couldn't leave. I was with him through the whole building process of that team, so I stayed. We ended up hiring Scott Riggs.
What was working with Scott Riggs like?
Oh, it was good. I mean, he was super fast, quite a bit different style than Jeff Greene, and our whole team had been built around Greene, so it took a little bit of a transition, but it didn't take us that long. I mean, I don't remember, maybe it was 4 or 5 races in, and we won Nashville. Scott was a rookie, so matter of fact, I think as a rookie, we ended up winning a race quicker than anybody else at the time, any other rookie. At the time, I don't know that's still true today. But it took a little bit of adjustment, but Rex was a lot of fun. He and I are still good friends.
That's great to hear. That's very great to hear, man. And how did you get your brief ride with Haas CNC's team to work with Greene again?
I had gone to, I left PPC with the intention of going to RCR. But I got up there, some things didn't look exactly the way that I felt like it needed to be for me to be successful for them. And so I didn't take it. And from there, I went to another team that didn't actually work out from a finance standpoint. And then I ended up with Renzi Motorsports in 2003 with Bobby Hamilton Jr. And we missed the championship by like 18 points that year. And I didn't come in until like 8 races into the season. He was 400 points out whenever I went there. But we ended up losing the championship to Brian Vickers by like 18 points, I think. And so I was there from 2003 till 2004 with the Team Marines car. And then Bobby Hamilton Jr. went to drive for Cal Wells at PPI. And I went up there with him in 2005, and that whole thing just didn't really pan out. And Bill Ingalls, I had worked with Bill Ingalls at Alan Kowicki's and Michael Waltrip's back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. And Bill Ingalls was working at Haas, and whenever I wasn't happy at PPI, well, a Tide car, a 32 Tide car, they talked to me at Darlington, and so I ended up leaving PPI and went to Haas in 2005.
All righty. That makes a lot of sense. And what was Jeff Greene's reaction to finishing well at Bristol in the 2007 Food City 500?
It was pretty awesome. Like that was the first year of the COT car, and that was when we was doing 10 races in the COT car, and we had the rest of the season with the car yesterday, the Coy car they called it, so that was a new car, and we were basically a satellite team of Hendricks, and so we was doing a lot of testing with Hendricks and the whole 9 yards, but I'm pretty sure we ran that car. We ran that COT car 10 races. I think we had 6 top 10s. And the other ones we broke. We had a failure. We was running second at Richmond, blew a right front tire, and then we was running second at Martinsville and blew a right front tire with that car. So where Haas was at the time, their car yesterday program was really behind aerodynamically and the whole 9 yards. But in their defense, everything was going to the car tomorrow. So all the investment, the R&D, everything was going into the new car and not the old car. So we were kind of just hanging on with what we had for the old car and trying to get through the year with it, and putting all of our time into the COT car. So, that's a damn tough business over there. So, anytime you can get inside the top 10 in that Cup Series, man, it's not a win, but it sure feels a whole lot better than a top 20.
Yep, for sure. Did Jeff say anything about the tremendous photo finish between Kyle Busch and Jeff Burton, or no?
Not that I remember. I mean, we could have talked about it at the time, but it's been several years ago. So,
yeah,
I can't really remember.
Yeah, no problem. And how did you get your ride with Team Renzi Motorsports?
Sam Renzi was running the team at the time, and after I had left PPC, which I'd been with Greg Bollocks a long time, Sam was looking to get his team stepped up, and Bobby Hampton Jr. was looking for another crew chief, and I had gone to work for Mr. Amick at the time. Lyndon Amick's dad owned the race team, and they had an engine company, and he wanted me to come in and build some cars for him. They were having some trouble with different people saying this engine wasn't as good as that engine, this engine so-and-so. Mr. Amick hired me to come in and do research and development. He said, what I want you to do, I want you to build me some cars. We're going to run about 10, 12 races the first year. And I want to have a motor in this car, and our other teams out there with engines in, if they aren't happy with their engine and they think it's the engine's the problem, then I want you to pull the motor out of your car and put it in their car, and you put their motor in your car. And I said, okay, that's what you want me to do. That's what I'll do, and that's what I did. We switched motors with teams a few times, and it proved to the other teams and owners that it wasn't an engine was the problem. So it proved its point. But anyway, in that process, Sam Renzi approached me about taking over their team and running that deal for Bobby Hamilton Jr. The Marines was a sponsor, and I had talked to the guy that his name just left me. Older I get, my memory starts fading.
Ed Renzi?
No, I'm trying to think of the Marine that was there. He had retired out of the Marines. He was working as a liaison between the team and the Marines. I'm having a hard time remembering his name. But anyway, so I was just so impressed with how involved the Marines were with that team and the whole 9 yards. And I ended up signing a deal with them.
All righty. That's pretty cool. What was working with Jeremy Mayfield like at Evernham?
I only worked with him at Haas.
Oh, at Haas?
They replaced Jeff Greene with Jeremy Mayfield late in 2007. And so I only got to work with him about 6 races. And at the end of that deal, after they let Greene and Jeremy came in, mine and Jeff's chemistry and racing was where that I kind of wanted to be. And so at the end of 2007, I left and I went to work for Rusty Wallace.
Oh. Is there a particular reason why Jeff left the team, or is that kind of confidential?
I can't really give you their explanations. The owners made that decision. I had nothing to do with it.
All righty. I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't really understand why, why that worked out, because we weren't where we wanted to be in the points, but we were much higher in the points than that team had ever been. So we were building something, it was building up, but they have marketing things, and, it could have been a sponsored thing, could have been anything. I just didn't, a lot of times you just have to, you got to roll with the punches. And if you fit in with the program, then roll with the punches. If you don't fit in with the program, you make a change,
Yep, I'm with you on that. So that's how you got your ride with Rusty Wallace's team then, was departing Haas CNC?
Yep.
Alrighty. What was working with Stephen Wallace like?
It was awesome. He had finished 30th in points the year before. And Stephen was, he's such a wide open on the gas driver that I don't seem to me like at the time a lot of coaches didn't know how to handle him at the time. But when I worked with him, man, me and him gelled out right away pretty quick. And it didn't take long. We didn't win a race, but we were in position to win. Something would happen. We'd end up getting in a wreck, or, we'd break, or something would go on. Something kept us out of that victory lane. But we were in position to win a half a dozen of those things. And we broke a few times at the end of the year. I think we ended up 12th in points. But it was quite a step up from what that had in previous years. But Stephen was, matter of fact, his shop's right up the road from mine, and we're still real big buddies.
What is he doing today? Because he kind of vanished off the face of NASCAR over the past few years. What's he doing today?
He's running that Cars tour and super late model asphalt cars.
Alrighty. Pretty cool that
he's building some really cool hot rods too. He built some cars that they sell at Barrett Jackson. and things like that. But yeah, that's what he's doing. He still races. He's running that Cars Tour, I think.
That's good to hear that he's still active. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So how did you get your ride with Richard Childress Racing in the Truck Series for 2011?
So Rusty sponsorship changed at the end of 2008, and they was having to make a big cut in things. That's obviously whenever the economy took a big tank.
Yeah.
And I left there. It was sponsorship stuff was the problem. It wasn't a, it wasn't a performance issue or anything like that. It was more sponsor related, and everybody's salaries were really getting cut major. And so anyway, that's what's ended up happening to that deal. But through another guy I knew, Joey Coulter was starting wanted to get into NASCAR racing. Mm-hmm. And so a person that worked for them, I had done some crew chief work for him in the past, Randy Renfro, and Randy come and talked to me about going to work for the Coulters. So I went to work for them and started an ARCA team for them. And we ARCA raced in 2009 and 10. And then Joey went to drive for Richard Childress in 2011 and 12. And Mike Dillon called me and brought me up there to crew chief Joey in 2011 and 12.
That's pretty cool. So what happened between Joey and Kyle Busch at Kansas, if you know?
You talking about when Richard punched Kyle?
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. That was Joey's rookie year, and that was Joey's first top 5 finish. Matter of fact, he passed Kyle for his first top 5 finish. And at that time, our trucks were out on the roads. They were going straight from Kansas to Texas. So, we didn't. Those things are all sheet metal bodies and the whole 9 yards. You knock a door off, hell, you got to go back to the body shop, paint the whole 9 yards. And after the race, Kyle was a little aggravated at Joey because Joey kind of slid jobbed him to get that top 5. And Kyle was aggravated with him, so Kyle ran up. After the checker flag, Kyle drove into the door and caved the door in. And on the cool down lap, and that's what started all that mess with Richard and Kyle, the whole 9 yards. But it ended up working out. Because after Joey left RCR, he went to Kyle Busch. We went over there and worked for them for a year.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I remember that year like it was yesterday. I was a big Kyle Busch fan, but he was very heated that year with a lot of other competitors, and I'll be the first to acknowledge that. You know what I mean?
Oh man, it's just passion.
Yeah.
He's just so passionate about it. Hell, it don't bother me. The more passionate, the better. I don't mind seeing a good fist fight every now and then.
Yep, I'm with you on that. I remember a few years back when Jeff Gordon got into it with Keselowski, and I remember laughing my butt off because I was not a big Keselowski fan. But that's just passion. And I've kind of softened on some drivers over the past few years as I mature. And I've kind of softened on Brad a little bit, but back then I just wasn't a big fan of his. You know what I mean?
I wasn't either.
Yeah.
I wasn't either at the time.
Yeah, and I remember saying on Facebook when Brad got into it with Kenseth at Charlotte, and I wasn't entirely the nicest person back then, so that played a role in what I said. But I was like, what I said on Facebook was, Brad talks about how he wants to punch people in the face. I'd like to punch him in the face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I said that in the aftermath of his incident with Kenseth, although I wasn't entirely the nicest person back then. So that kind of played a role into what I said and how I reacted. But yeah, I've softened about him.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. As long as you're telling how you feel, man.
Yep, I'm with you on that. So what was working with Kyle Busch Motorsports like?
Quite a bit different for me. They had a system in place that was kind of difficult, really, honestly. Which Kyle's going to win races, and no matter what he's in, you know. But we just had left RCR in a program where Joey finished. We was either second, third in points, and I think we I don't know. Hell, we Nelson PK right at when we got to Homestead there, we was trying to, we was in a competition for sitting on the most poles between Nelson PK and us, but we ended up losing the championship by 12 points or something like that. So we had a great year at RCR. And then we got over there, and things were quite a bit different. It really didn't match well for Joey. It really didn't match well for me either. It just wasn't the place for us. But can't take anything away from the program. Winning everything else. Just sometimes chemistry works out, and sometimes it don't. But as far as working for Kyle, I thought Kyle was awesome, man. The times we would sit around and, competition meetings and stuff like that, where at the racetrack we would all gather up and talk about setups and where the racetrack was going to go, to listen to some of the stuff that he had to say and the knowledge that was coming out of his head about what was going on in the truck and the racetrack. I was just floored by it. Just to hear him talk was like, wow. I mean, that guy's good.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. He's a very good driver. And it's pretty cool that he won the championship and this time ran the full season last year. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's your favorite?
He deserves it, man. He's nobody goes as hard as he does.
Yep, I agree with you on that. Yep. I remember a few years back when he won the first championship for his career after that comeback. And if you go onto one of my old YouTube channels that's not active anymore, you'll see that I celebrated like crazy.
Good deal.
Yeah. So what's your favorite racing movie, if you had to pick one, between Days of Thunder, Talladega Nights, or any others you can think of?
Brewster Baker and a six-pack.
Ah, alrighty. That's a pretty good one. I've seen it before. And this is my last question on the list. What are you doing these days now that your NASCAR career seems over?
I am racing super late model dirt cars.
Ah.
Since I got out of NASCAR in 2015, which I worked for Kyle Busch, and then I went to work for GMS. I was director of competition. And when they wanted to ramp that thing up to multiple teams, Joey was driving over there. When they wanted to ramp that thing up to multiple teams, I helped them get going in the right direction, but I just didn't want to do it, I've been going at it for 30 years, and that's just, I was getting to where I felt like I wanted to do something different. So Joey wanted to start a super late model dirt team, so I started that deal for him. And 2016 and 17, we raced the World of Outlaws Tour full time. 2018, we just basically money raised. They call it money raising, but we were just going to big shows and running different stuff. And but that's currently what I'm doing now. I'm still working for the coachers.
That's pretty cool. And I have one more thing that I just remembered that I got to ask before we go. Was intentional wrecking common in NASCAR back in the 90s or 80s or no?
How do I answer that? Well, put it this way. If you needed a caution, we would get it.
Okay, that's a good way to look at it. You're funny, man.
Yeah. Yeah. If we needed a caution, we would make it happen.
Funny. All righty, that's all I have. Thank you, man, for your time.
Okay, bud. I appreciate you.
No problem, and I'll let you know when my project comes out.
Okay. I appreciate that.
All righty, cool. Have a good day.
Yes, sir. You too.
All right, bye.
All right.
All righty. That turned out very well. I really enjoyed it.